Okay, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And particular thanks to our speakers that we have today. First is Micheline Nicole Bowman, who graduated from Morgan State University with a BA in broadcast journalism in 1988. She worked in the television industry for 27 years after landing her first job in 1989 at WTTG Fox 5 News in Washington, D.C. From producing to writing to community outreach and planning major events and supervising a news department internship program, her list of accomplishments in the broadcast media industry read like a book. In 2017, her job was eliminated and she knew that meant her career was spiritually elevated. Micheline took a moment to figure out her next move and decided to start her own business group, the Bowman Media Group, which focuses on media relations, branding, training, and publicity. Her motto, are you ready to be seen? Her motto is, are you ready to be seen? She works with individuals and companies creating an effective media plan for ultimate media exposure. Aside from her business, she has an online show, On the Scene with Micheline, co-hosts a podcast, The Kicks and Giggles Show, and is a brand ambassador for Prince George's County, Maryland's Experience Prince George's office. She travels the country showcasing a variety of places via video and on her website to engage locals and visitors to enjoy the beautiful county she calls home. We also have Nolan D. McCaskill, who is a reporter at Politico, where he has worked since graduating from Florida A&M University in December 2014. Shout out to HBCUs. He was a copy editing intern at Ocala Style Magazine in 2012 and a Chips Quinn Scholar sports intern at the News and Observer in Raleigh, North Carolina, and participant of Politico's inaugural Journalism Institute in 2014. And a shout out to that program. All of you should be on the lookout for that and the applications for it, because it really is a great program. And Cordelia James is a reporter covering residential real estate at The Real Deal. She is currently a part of the New York Times Student Journalism Institute and was previously a summer intern at the Wall Street Journal, two programs that went virtual due to the coronavirus epidemic. And Cordelia is a graduate of American University, where she received her bachelor's degree in journalism with a minor in creative writing. And she is one of my former students who I enjoyed having in class, and I'm certainly glad she is here today. And I think that's just about it for all of the panelists. Am I right?
Yeah, I believe so. Oh, well, Letitia, I'm so sorry. We apologize. Go ahead and introduce yourself for us. We were waiting for, yeah, go ahead.
No worries at all. Sorry, it's been a busy week and I did not submit my bio, so that is my fault. Deadlines, don't miss them. But I'm Letitia. I am a reporter at the Washington Post. I'm on the general assignment team. I've been here just over a year and a half. I was an intern at the Post in 2016, so I was covering a lot of the election stuff then and had a really great experience overall. So can definitely talk about the relationships that I had that really helped me shape my career and also even helped me get the job I have now at the Post. And after my internship, I was a Kellogg Fellow at the Center for Public Integrity, where I covered taxes and campaign finance. And then after that, I came to the Post, and now I'm basically on every single thing that's breaking.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thanks again. Right now, we're going to do short introductions just to get a feel for who's in the room. And by short, I mean only the first name, last name, job title, or school. You don't have to go any, and maybe a little bit about your aspiration, but try to keep it about 2 minutes if you can. Like I said, we're trying to keep a tight schedule because we want to get to your questions. So we appreciate that. So who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, the voice, sorry, saw the hand, but go with the voice. Go ahead.
Oh, you can go with the hand first. It's okay.
No, go ahead.
It's fine.
We heard the voice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Armani Washington, a freshman media broadcast journalism major at Howard University. And in the future, I would like to become an on-air talent.
Right. Thank you, Toddy. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Toddy WABJ. I'm currently a free agent journalist. I was a freelance reporter for two local Washington, D.C. newspapers called the Current Newspapers and the Northwest Courier, where I covered high school sports. I was a part-time production assistant at the Voice of America for almost 2 years, and I was a social media coordinator for a 6-week high school journalism workshop called First Take, which is presented by the New York Association of Black Journalists. I graduated from George Mason University in May 2017 with a bachelor's degree in communication with a concentration in journalism. Currently, as I said earlier, I'm a free agent. I was looking for work. I've been applying for work in networking, and um, WABJ is a good source for, job hunting and networking. I'm pretty active on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's real Toddy Abedje. You can follow me and I'll follow back. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys.
Thanks so much, Toddy. We really appreciate it. I'm going to go in the order I'm seeing people. So next is Michaela. Is it
Yes.
Gauss?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Michaela Gauss. I'm currently a sophomore broadcast journalism major and community development minor at Howard University. My short-term goals include becoming either a sports or entertainment journalist, and long-term, I want to have my own media production company.
Thank you so much. Hey, Kayla.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Allen. I am a junior political science, English, and African American studies double minor from Dallas, Texas, currently studying at Howard University, and I'm an aspiring print journalist. I want to work within clearly politics and international relations.
Hi, Kyrie. Kyrie, you're muted.
Okay. I'm Kyrie Gray. I currently work with WJLA ABC 7 News as a production assistant, and I graduated from Claflin University in 2019. I want to do something in sports, but I'm not fully sure, but I just want to do something sports related. Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, I forgot to add, I would like my dream goals to be
Hey, Daddy, we'll come back to you, I
Okay,
promise.
okay.
Sorry, we're going to get back to it. So the next person is Annalicia Law.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Annalicia Law. I'm a junior mechanical engineering major at Howard, and I currently have a podcast outside of, my academics. So that's completely irrelevant to engineering. But my career aspirations, I want to write about technology and innovation.
Thank you so much. Hi, Camille.
Hi, everyone. My name is Camille Daniels, and I'm a recent grad of the SI Newhouse School, Public School of Communications at Syracuse University, and was a graduate student there. And I studied magazine, newspaper, and online journalism. So happy to be here. And I'm sorry, I thought this was I feel bad because I'm not a part of the Washington group.
It's okay.
Obviously, so I wasn't sure. So.
It's fine. We're happy to have you. Thank you so much. Hi, Natalie. I think you're the last one on the list.
Hi, yes, sorry, I'm getting ready for a doctor's appointment, so I was a little late for the call. I also did not hear the prompt for the introduction, so please forgive me. My name is Natalie. I am a production assistant with Armand Co., a job that I got actually through networking through the virtual job fair at NABJ. I transitioned into journalism a little later. So I graduated in 2016 with journalism and took a long time to come to this field. But my goals are also to start my own production company and tell the stories of people who don't always have the voice to tell their story.
Wonderful. So we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are, did I miss anyone? Is there someone on the call that I didn't get to?
Yeah, I didn't go.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm Natasha Williams. I'm currently a junior at the University of Maryland Global Campus, studying communication studies. And I'm also a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. I just did a multimedia workshop with them, which was a great experience. So I still want to become a journalist. I also want to do a podcast. I did a podcast before, but since I've been in school, I've just been a little bit busy focusing on that as well as a full-time job. So this program will hopefully help me move forward in my career in that, as well as communications in general. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If there's anyone that's not getting constant emails from me, just send me an email to gail.wabj@gmail.com so we can add you, because there's been a little bit of confusion with the application. Some people signed up on time, and then there was some type of lag. I'm not really sure what it is, but happy to sign anybody up that needs to be in there. We're going to be matching people with mentors very soon. If you didn't send over your bio, go ahead and send that to gail.wabj@gmail.com. I really appreciate it. So we are ahead of schedule. I'm really glad to see that. So we're going to get started with some of the questions that we prepared. Then we'll open the floor up to some of your questions. The panelists, however you guys want to answer these questions, whatever order, whoever feels, go ahead, feel free. We really appreciate it. So one of the questions is, what are the challenges for interns amid the pandemic? I don't know if anyone has started noticing that interns are struggling to work virtually, or has heard from anyone interning virtually.
Yeah, I can go ahead and start just because of my previous experience entering that space. So yeah, there's like so many different challenges that interns starting out in their internship program, as well as people who are starting new jobs, are like facing, whether it be isolation, whether it be burnout, or I think one of the biggest ones are just a lack of communication in some ways, because I mean, when you're an intern, you're kind of dropped into whatever newsroom and you're able to absorb from everyone around you. Like even just like overhearing how a colleague is talking to interview subjects and things like that, you get all of that experience that now is extremely limited. And so I feel like over communication is key. I spoke to a lot of interns for a story that I wrote for the journal last year about this topic. And so many people were like apologizing, like, I feel like I'm bugging my supervisor too much or whatever, but I don't think that that's the case. I think in order to make up for that lack of in-person presence, you kind of do have to like send a message to your supervisor and let them know like, hey, I'm really struggling with this part. Can we hop on a call and discuss this? Or just, I already have a lot on my plate right now, so I can't pick up that next assignment until maybe tomorrow morning or something like that. There needs to be a lot more communication done, but that's like an issue that I think a lot of people face.
Myself. I'm going to unmute myself. Hi, everybody. I'm going to piggyback and then some. I've been out of the arena of being in a newsroom since 2017, but being there 27 years, some things they still don't change. It's the same. And in communications, you need to be present. You need to be in a newsroom. You need to be around cameramen. You need to be around all the things that you need to learn as a student that's going to help you once you graduate. And it's a disservice that COVID has happened because, like you just said, students aren't given that opportunity to touch, to feel, to be amongst what they need to learn. You can't learn equipment on Zoom. You can't learn just communication skills on Zoom. And I pray for everyone out there, because right now, if you don't have someone that you can physically ask those questions and learn from, it's going to be a little harder. Challenging, can it be done? Yes. But I just would advise everybody on this Zoom who wants to get into whatever it is within the business to find a mentor that can kind of walk you through it and talk you through it, because you don't want to get, I guess, pushed through the gaps or cracks by not having that hands-on. And I've got to give a big, huge shout out to Annalisa, because she was my intern, and I told her when I met her that she was going to do amazing things. She was superstar. So thank you so much. I know you didn't ask for that, but I just want everyone to know that she sets the pace for letting people know. They tell you when you graduate, oh, you won't end up in the top 10 market until a long time. And I tell everybody, she's proof that if you stick to it and do what you say, you can end up anywhere. My hand clap to you.
You're the best, Micheline. I really appreciate that. Yeah, this industry is all very connected. Anyways, we'll get into that at another time. But Thank you, Micheline. Really appreciate you. As always, you're the best. So the next question is, in terms of creating a portfolio, what is an important component for any job out of college? Which should interns do to better their portfolios? I'm gonna go to Nolan because he didn't comment on this last one. But hey, Nolan, any tips for creating a better portfolio? We know you were, well, first of all, describe your experience at Politico and how you moved up the ranks and how that helps.
Sure. Yeah, I started, my first introduction to Politico was during PJI, which Sherry mentioned earlier in my intro. That was like a 10-day to 2-week thing at Politico in DC. We stayed at American University. Had a lot of lectures from professors there, as well as reporters in DC at Politico and other publications. We had a few writing assignments. From that, they offered me a year-long fellowship. So after I went back to school and graduated, spent Christmas night driving up to Virginia with my dad to find a place to live and started work on December 29th. So I did a year-long fellowship, started out covering financial services for Politico Pro, which is our subscription service. They signed me to cover the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I knew nothing about financial services, otherwise I would have had a bigger paycheck. I knew nothing about the CFPB, but something that you just had to learn along the way. It takes a lot of time to really understand what it is, what its mission is, and just get comfortable and, talking to your editor and talking to other reporters on your team. I struggled with imposter syndrome for a while. When I got there, Politico was very, very, very white, which is why they started the Institute to, bring more black and brown people in the newsroom. But like for the first 5 or 6 months, I felt like a diversity initiative. I struggled with confidence. I didn't think I belonged because in college, I covered a lot of different things. I covered sports, I covered breaking news, I did hard news stories, I played around with anecdotal leads. I was competing with local news outlets when I was writing for the student paper, but I didn't really cover politics. I didn't cover policy. So I wasn't really sure why they offered me the fellowship, something I never even applied for, and a lot of people did. So I struggled with that for a while, but eventually as time went on, I continued to get praise from editors and other people I was working with, started to gain my confidence. I ended up helping do some web production, which is, social media, finding images on AP and Getty, adding captions, producing stories. I think I created a graphic one time. My first major was graphic design before I ended up switching to journalism. Last couple of months of that fellowship, I was put on the breaking news team, and then that led to a full-time position on the breaking news team after the fellowship ended. I remember in 2017, they sent out a newsroom email marking our 10-year anniversary, talking about how 10 years ago when Politico was founded, I was a freshman in high school playing JV basketball, and then 10 years later, I was a breaking news reporter at Politico who had generated like 50 million page views for my articles. Went on to briefly cover the White House, spent a year covering Congress, covered the 2020 presidential campaign, mainly the Democratic primary until COVID hit last March, and then kind of bounced around, focusing a lot more on race and policy, which is what I cover now. So my advice is really just to get as much experience as you can. I was sort of late to journalism because I didn't originally major in journalism. I majored in graphic design. So I spent a lot of time in the newsroom. Started out as a shy copy editor, was afraid to make too many changes to people's stories. I even delivered the school newspaper for a time. I became a copy desk chief and got a paid position. Eventually rose to being the top editor. I was able to hire and assemble a staff. I wrote a variety of different stories. I worked with a lot of reporters. I was taking what I learned in class and applying that to what I was doing at the newspaper, and all of those experiences I had, all the time I spent, all the people I worked with, those are things I was able to bring to my current job at Politico, and those were things that helped me advance from a fellow to a breaking news reporter to a White House reporter to covering Congress to covering the presidential campaign and to what I'm doing now.
It makes it sound so easy, but there's little steps that we probably will get to it in your questions. Thank you, Nolan. Anyone else want to comment on that? What could help to better portfolios so that you can land a job after college or land that dream internship?
Keeping it brief, depending on what it is you want to do with your degree, I always say, and you probably have heard this less is more. When someone's going to look at your tapes, if you're going into the on-air side of it, you have to figure out what I always told interns then, and which is true now, what makes you pop. If you want to be a sports reporter, you should have done sports things while you were at the internship, so that can reflect on your reel. But you also want to show your diversity. You also want to show that you can report, you can anchor, and you can write. I just say WRAP, W-R-A-P, write, report, anchor, and produce. You want to show that you are diverse in everything that you have to offer them, because 9 times out of 10, the things that you come in with for your first job and are not going to be what ends up being your last job. So just know that if you show diversity in the beginning, by keeping your personality on your reels, showing who you are, that, that's the best thing, being yourself. And don't over, I guess, sell yourself. I say that because sometimes if you oversell yourself in the market and you get there, they're going to expect you to do everything you said. Come in with a humble heart and be able to learn. And if you know somebody already in the business, ask them for advice. What should you put on your reel? What shouldn't you put on your reel? What should you show as far as your writing ability? What shouldn't you show? Questions before will definitely help you, land something in the long run.
Yeah, and I like what Nolan had to say about majoring in graphic design, because you don't realize how like simple things like that can help you along the way. We use graphics all the time now in almost everything, so that's majorly helpful to know at least like Adobe Photoshop or something. All right, next question. For people who are about to graduate, what should they do better to better their chances of getting hired? Should they reach out to their old programs? How do you create those relationships so that you are able to land a job after school?
I feel like, and this is only from experience with grad school, is that when you first graduate, I knew very few people who actually got jobs after graduating. It was internships or fellowships before landing the job. And I think that is an important expectation to have, because I didn't realize that until I was already in my grad program that yes, people did eventually get a job like a year or two after graduating, but that was also after like 2 or 3 internships. And for me, I also had a fellowship while I was in school. I had 2 internships right after school. And then I had a fellowship again after those 2 internships before I got my first real job. So I think it goes back to what Micheline said, which was that you really do need to have a bit of diversity, whether that is in with video or even with clips, or even with your clips if you're going on the written path, because I did have a wide array of things. And I tell students this all the time, like, especially young Black students, are like, oh, I want to be the reporter on race and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can be that, but more than likely when you get your first job, you're not going to be that reporter doing that gig, right? You need to show that you understand algae blooms and that you can also write about the protests. Like, there are so many different things that you want to show that you are able to do. And I think having diverse experience is really important to getting that first job that you have, because it's like, well, I saw, Kayla can write about, I don't know, the moon moving or something, but she could also write about, a cat licking ice cream, whatever, right? Like, there is range in both of those stories. And I think a lot of student journalists, thanks to the wonderful programs we all have, it's like, I want to do the most important things. And the reality is, you might not. Right? It's going to take a little scratching here and there to get to where you are. So I think the most important thing I can say is, like, be really patient with yourself and understand, like, that first job may not come right after graduation. It may come after your second, third, or fourth internship or fellowship before you land that full salary and benefits job.
Man.
Sorry. Annalisa, were you going to say something?
No, I'll comment after it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just going to say, Letitia, that was great, like, especially like the part that you mentioned about being patient with yourself, because I mean, I am covering residential real estate for The Real Deal. Did I know anything about residential real estate before doing this? No. Am I still learning? Yes. But I think what helped me get that job was just because before laying this, I did a lot of freelancing like you, Tati. And so I was like freelancing for People, freelancing for The Journal, freelancing for National Geographic. National Geographic, I was covering all kinds of stuff about like nature, animals, the environment, and things. And it was more so me being able to say that it doesn't matter what specific niche it is that I'm covering, as long as I have those basic skills and like a foundation, I can cover anything. So going with that mindset, I think will help you. So that way, once you do land that job, you know, like allow that to give you some time to continue to build those skills. That way, once you do get to the point where you can cover whatever specific thing you're interested in, you can do that and do that well. I also wanted to go ahead and respond directly to about reaching out to your networks is just so, so important. I think even whether or not you even like, for me, there were times in which I applied to jobs and I didn't get them, but I'm still connected with those people now that I had a chance to get in front of them. And so I still make sure to talk to them, and as well as like people for previous internships that I've had across the DC area, because even if I don't plan on going back to those newsrooms, people that I have connected with could still know other people who might have positions that would be open for me. And so I think it's just so important to continue to stay connected with them. And then one last thing, I feel like I'm talking a lot. But even if this is something new that I learned from one of my mentors, was that, I mean, there are times in which I find myself like applying for gigs that I'm just like, I don't know anybody here. I don't have that network connection to get me in front. And so, but instead of just like not applying, a trick that she encouraged me to do was after you submit your application, like, you know how you're just like looking through LinkedIn and everything to find out who should I be addressing my cover letter to, that hiring manager. If you know who that person is, send them an email after you submit your job application, and introduce yourself. Like, you know, go ahead and like send a couple of your clips, tell them like, hey, I just applied for this position. Here are some highlights, you know, what makes you stand out? Because I learned that after I did that, practically everyone I had to like apply to reached back out to me at least for the next step for the interview. But by the time they did that, I already got this job. So I would strongly recommend like, yeah, like just try to connect with people however you possibly can.
This is such a great tip. I really like that, Cordelia. And Letitia, I really like what you had to say about just expectations. Oh my goodness. I was so disappointed in my first job. My first live shot was about sunscreens. I didn't even wear sunscreen back then. I was so upset. But anyways, I'm not really upset, but disappointed. You know what I mean. All right. So the next question is, well, I guess we touched on this a little bit. But I'll ask it one more time just to see if anyone has any tips. But how do you nurture those professional relationships? How do you nurture those professional relationships so that it's not too weird? You know, sometimes you just come off a little too strong, and that could be a turn off for some people. So how do you, you know, not sound like you're desperate, but sound like you're eager? It's a fine line for sure.
I'll speak on that. It's funny. I always say be aggressive without being annoying, because there is definitely a difference. And it's also a difference between having contacts and having connections. That's people, they gotta get that all messed up. But I'm going to speak in the voice of when I was the internship coordinator for Fox 5 and I was looking for the interns, what I looked at in them that helped me realize that he or she was the best fit for us. Because again, when you hear the word Fox, most people have we're all brown people on here. So when you hear the word Fox, most people have a totally different mindset of Channel 5 Fox, WTTG versus Fox News. And I used to always have to say, yes, same parents, different kids. You know, we're just different. And so I will look for students that were aggressive because they wanted to prove themselves in, you know, a world where you only see one or two brown people on every show, regardless of what station you turn on. And I was the one, you know, as I guess the mother of the interns, trying to get them to understand that you still have got to be better than better, the best of the best. You still got to make it pop for you because you are representing all the brown boys and girls that are coming into this program. And you still have to have respect for yourself and everybody in here, because they're looking at you. How do you carry yourself? How do you interact? How do you communicate? How aggressive are you trying to learn this business that we call, broadcast journalism? And the fine line becomes, because you want to be the intern, but you also want to be that young adult, proving yourself that you are worthy to be there, that you are worthy to be, in front of the camera or behind the camera. And I always would tell interns, you still have to have a level of respect where you're not going to go out hanging with them eating dinner after it's over. You should not be the one after your internship is over asking them for a ride back to your college dorm or to your apartment. There still should be a level of, you are the student, they are still the employee, so that there aren't any fine lines crossed. Because I have been on that side where I had to go to HR when things were too dicey. I had to be that one to stand and represent that intern. And as much as you want something, you should never sacrifice who you are at any time to get any position. I would tell interns that if there's anything that you want to do more so outside of here, come to me, because that's why I'm your supervisor. I'm your friend still. I wasn't like, I guess I was the mother, they called it, over the interns, but I was still a voice of reason. I was a voice of respect. And I still talk to you as if you were my child, because pretty much I'm 54 now. So all y'all probably could be my kids. So I would still talk to you as a mother, because I would never want your reputation to be damaged at an internship program, because that will carry with you forever. This world isn't but so big. And my last thing I want to say is, because I'm a talker by nature, is that for any job that you want right now, if it's in broadcast journalism, if it's in graphic design, if it's in whatever it is, there are always ways to use your contacts and your connections. And one of the ways that I've always suggested to people is ask for an informational interview. That's not asking for a job. If you reach out to whomever in whatever field, in whatever business, ask for an informational interview, which is pretty much, hey, I want to get on the phone, talk to you about what you're doing, but you're already setting up the ground floor of connecting to get that contact in your Rolodex. Well, y'all probably don't say Rolodex anymore, but in your cell phone. And so informational interviews are something that you can always follow up with. And the one thing that I want to say is that before you hang up a Zoom, before you hang up a phone call, you have to put yourself to guarantee you a call back, to guarantee you an interview, to guarantee you something. And the way you do that, if they say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't talk right now, you say to them, what time can you talk? Because you're throwing the ball back at them. Don't wait for them to say, I can't talk right now, I'll call you later. Call you later might not happen, but when you make somebody own a time, own a date, own that they will get back in touch with you, that throws the onus on them. And people want to be about their word. So if they don't call you back or set a time, that goes to show that they're not about their word. And nobody really wants to be the person to say, well, I didn't keep my appointment. Some people do, they're just, I won't say what they are, but you get them to commit and then you follow up. And that's how you're being aggressive without being annoying, because that person has already told you, call me back at so-and-so. So when you don't call them back, that falls on you. But when you do call them back and they don't answer or respond, that's where the dynamics changes. So by all means, I could talk forever. I am Micheline Bowman on all social media. I am here. I will talk. I will mentor. I will, whatever it is outside of all this, please. I'm throwing the ball out there. If y'all want to catch it, whatever, we can have a conversation after this, because, we can't do with so much on the time that we have allotted, but I would love to talk to any of y'all and help you with my contacts and my connections, if it can help you. That's my word.
Really is a gem. Anyone else on here that would say something?
I can speak from personal experience with having good mentors. Like, if your program does allow for you to be paired with someone, take advantage of that. Ask that person to copy. Like, that is kind of your conduit often to how the newsroom works. When I was an intern at the Post, for instance, my other internships didn't have a professional or peer program like that. But I had one and it was greatly beneficial. My mentor is actually Abby Phillip. And so she really did help me throughout my intern, because there are times where it's like, oh my God, no one's giving me an assignment. I don't know how to pitch an assignment. What kind of assignment do they want? Do they care about my page views? Like, I mean, I was spiraling. I'm also low-key neurotic, but I feel like that is like common among a lot of reporters in general. But having that connection just really helped me have such a better experience. And also just taking, initiative and getting over my nerves. Like, I would go into the national editor's office and say, look, I didn't like how the RNC went. I didn't feel like my voice was heard. I'm going to tell you, and this could work either positive or negative, work positively for me. This is what I want to do for the DNC. Here are the stories that I want to tell. And he remembered me from that. And even after I left my internship, one thing that I would do with a lot of my mentors, but especially the ones who have like legit connections, is say, hello, how are you? Look at the work that I've been doing lately. Would love to get your feedback on it. How do you think I could have improved? What do you think could have been better? Also, could we meet up for coffee? If so, what time? I think something students make a mistake about doing, and I notice this when I get emails, is just being too broad. Like, ask me something specific. Are you trying to figure out how to get an internship? Are you trying to figure out how to pitch a story? Like, tell me so I know how to best help you. Otherwise, it's just like, can you talk? But it's like, I'm on a deadline most of the time. I don't have time to just talk, but if you tell me we're going to talk about something specific, I don't mind picking up the phone and talking to a student who's like, I don't know how to deal with my editor who keeps crapping all over my ideas. We've all been there, right? Like, that is something substantive. So always reach out to your mentors, even after you leave your internship, follow up with them, let them know what you are doing, follow their career. So it's not just a one-sided conversation as well. And also ask them for specific things, because again, they are really busy people.
All right. I really appreciate that. We are ahead of schedule, guys. I'm so excited. Well, I just wanted to follow up real quick on what everyone had to say about these connections. I think one pet peeve I have is when people send emails and the grammar is so poor. I'm so sorry, but I mean, how could you want to be in the journalism industry and you don't even want to write the proper email with proper grammar? So just, make sure you have to be perfect, but come at least 90% close to making sure your grammar is good and you know how to formulate an email so you sound professional. It's very important because that's your first impression. That's my first impression of you, is that you didn't care to formulate this email in a way that sounds professional. So yeah, that's what all I had to say to that. And we're gonna open the floor for some questions now. If anyone has some questions, go ahead and is there a raising hand feature in this, like Clubhouse? Okay, go ahead and use that feature. Thank you. So we see two hands raised, Annalisa and Toddy. Let's go to Toddy real quick first, and then Kayla. So go ahead, Toddy.
Okay. My goal, my long-term goal is to be a sports reporter, whether it's writing or reporting. But I'm also open to production, assistant, digital content, and social media. My question is, ever since I graduated from college in 2017, my jobs in the media field were only part-time or freelance, so I haven't had a full-time job. So for someone that's been 4 years out of removed from college and had some experience in the journalism field, I know about networking and stuff, and I have a portfolio that I put in the chat. What is your advice to people like me?
I definitely can give you an earful, but I'm gonna start here, and I want you to reach out to me after this. I'm Miss Shalene Bowman at Gmail. What I'll say to that is that don't look at the amount of years that you've been out, because there's always somebody going to be coming out after you and after you and after you. Look at what you have to offer now. For anybody out there, television has become what we watch on our cell phones. It's on demand. So I tell people, be on demand. If you know that you want to do something in the sports world, ask yourself, what are you doing right now so people can know that you want to be in the sports world? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have it on your Facebook or your Instagram? Are you on Clubhouse letting people know what you do? Are you out there recording or, pre-COVID, a Little League game or going to a Wizards game? What are you doing for people to know you're there? Because you're just one of a bazillion of people with that same skill set. So what are you doing that people know that Tati's out there, that Tati wants a job? Has Tati reached out to do any type of going on LinkedIn to see who was, I don't know, doing something in the sports world? Remember, our passion inside of us is one thing, but what we show on the outside to other people, that's what they see. They can't see our inside. They can't see our passion. They can't read our minds. You have to show people what it is you want to do. I don't know wherever you live in, but every county, Montgomery, DC, Prince George's, has a cable side television station. Have you gone there to see that you can, do things at that TV station to say, look, I want to cover all the sports in Prince George's County, so it can run on the cable side. So there are things you can do, and I'm not saying that you haven't, but you have to ask yourself, how can you stay that much more connected to what your passion is? And just because you've been out since 2017 doesn't mean it's going to happen, but maybe it's not going to happen here in DC. So are you looking in the Baltimore area? Are you looking in Delaware? Where are you looking outside of the DMV here to still do that? Because if it's something that you want to do, I'm here to tell you, after 27 years of Fox 5, you can recreate yourself, you can reinvent yourself, and you still can be that much closer to what it is that you say you want to do.
Okay.
I'm hoping that helped you a little bit.
Yeah, I really like that, Micheline, because I think what that really says is practice, 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 practice. I mean, the more you practice, the more you do something towards your goal, it just gets better over time. So Annalicia next.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so my question is for all of you who have kind of found yourself in a position where not even like, of course, like writing is, if you have the foundations of being able to write something, you can kind of apply that to any subject matter. But how do you adapt to a role that is not within your area of expertise at all? So like if you, actually, I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah.
Now, real quick, Annalicia, can you elaborate just on
okay
area that you're not? Yeah, go ahead.
So as an engineering student, I have like no applied experience in a writing, like a newsroom, like anything like that. So for me, looking to pursue opportunities like that is kind of scary for me because it's something that I've never done before. And when I find myself in that position at some point, I guess I'd like some tips and advice on how to navigate that.
Don't y'all speak at once now, because y'all know speakers.
Yeah, because Micheline can speak for days. So let's go to Cordelia, since Micheline had the last one.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, I had an initial response, but once you gave me more context, now I'm just like, okay, let me think about that. Because so often when I was at AU, a lot of people, or like not even just at AU, but just in all the different internships that I've been in, people will often tell me like, you don't necessarily need to be a journalism major to be a journalist. And so with you being like, you're coming in with so much knowledge in this specific area. And so like, yeah, even though you haven't been able to have that writing experience, I think it kind of goes back to what Micheline was talking about, like in terms of like reaching out to people and getting feedback. And I think Letitia talked about it too, where it's just like, I've noticed a lot of like some of my friends, maybe whether it's like self-starting projects. So maybe if you have like a blog or something that kind of taps into those interests, maybe go ahead and get that started just to get the feel of it, and then reach out to people in your network who can give you feedback and who can like say like, well, I mean, maybe if you were to have organized like this way, then that would be better suited for whatever those kinds of publications that you hope to write for. So I think some of it can, like being a self-starter, I have some friends who have started their own newsletters, or, like if you were to be interested in like podcasting and things, maybe starting your own of that, and then looking at your script and again, tapping into your network to figure out how you could be better. So that way you have something to bring to the table once you do start entering those areas that blend those two worlds that you're interested in.
I'll just piggyback real quick. I think those are important tips. And I also think it's important to be a student of the craft that you're studying. So if you want to write for newspapers, you want to do something online, you want to do a feature, what have you, like, you know, even now, I think every journalist does it to this day. You look at the people you admire and you see what they did. You start noticing patterns. And I think that gives you, you know, a working foundation of how to do something. And also when you do pitch your projects, it shows that you've done your homework and you're not just like some novice who's like, I want to do this, but hasn't really put in the work.
Thank you all so much for that.
Yeah, sign up for the hilltop is what Sherry sounds like she's saying in the comment section. All right. Go ahead, Kayla.
Okay, so my question actually builds on what Annalisa was just talking, and just so you know, the hilltop needs your help because I'm right over. Yes, like there's like few writers, so if you want to come over here, please help us out. But my question is like, again, for like people who aren't in the traditional journalism field, like what advice do you have specifically on building your portfolio and like freelancing? Because I think that's kind of what you guys were alluding to, like just write your own stories and just look. Yeah, but basically like what advice specifically do you have on like building your portfolio? And also, like you said, studying the craft. So are there any people do you think that we should be looking at? Like for me, I want to be a print journalist. So do you know any like writers that I should be looking at? Or yeah, that's my question.
Well, I think if you are not coming from a traditional journalism background and you're still a student, my grad program, for instance, was only a year long, technically a year and a half for me because I had a fellowship. I only had maybe like 5 published clips before then, and those were years before I even went to grad school. But when I was in grad school, I was publishing in everything. I published in like 7, 8 different student newspapers or magazines. I published at the local newspaper. If I could get in the student newspaper, I was in that too. Anywhere that would have Letitia Beecham in a byline, I was trying to get in that because I wanted to have as many clips as possible. And also going after different publications. And I was fortunate with Newhouse to have this. There are so many student-run publications that I could write about different interests that I have. If I only want to write about Black people, we had a few Black magazines. If I wanted to write about health and fitness, I could do that. So I think really tapping into what you have currently available to you as a student is important. And when you're trying to get like those internships, people still look at what you publish in student newspapers. Like, don't discount that or think that you need to go straight to the big leagues to have a byline. That's just not true. People want to see that you have been working to get your name out there. And even on a college level, which there are a lot of phenomenal student newspapers around the country, what have you contributed to those newspapers' legacy? So I would say publish in everything that you can. If you can find a connection at a local station or at a local newspaper, do that. I think it's important for you also as journalists in general to cold email people. I did it a lot. You know, you may get some no's, you may get nothing at all, but you at least try, because honestly, it's really a part of the job anyway. Like, I'm calling and emailing people every single day, right? You got to get over that anxiety. And when it comes to your future, your career, and having money, you are going to get over it. So reach out to people at the local station, reach out to the students who are running the newspapers, the magazines, the radio stations, whatever. Try to publish in every single thing where you can get your name out there and have clips that you are proud of. That way you don't have to figure out when it's time to apply to internships or jobs. Oh my God, I don't have this experience. Well, you tried it, you know, in second semester, junior year, and bam, here's a clip to show you did that. So just keep trying, keep publishing, and don't give up on that front.
Well said. Nolan, if you could also chime in, I would appreciate it.
Sure. I would just say the best avenue to get started is student media. Like I mentioned earlier, my original major was graphic design. I did eventually switch to broadcast journalism, so I did have the added benefit of learning, you know, what journalism is, how to report, what a lead is, the inverted pyramid, and things like that. But I think what really set me apart was just my experience with student journalism. I mean, sitting in a classroom, reading a book is one thing, but actually putting it into use, actually using an anecdotal lead, actually, seeing why a lead that's 35 words or less is better than something that's like 70 words, putting those things into use and actually, just the practicality and going through the motions and, having conversations, understanding why this is the best quote to be at the top of the story. Those are things that you learn by doing. Reading obviously helps. There are a lot of resources online. I think being involved with student media and talking to the editors and leaders there, things that can really help. When I was EIC, I didn't write too much because I was busy managing staff, but I did make time to talk with people about things. If reporters had questions about their stories, I would talk them through edits. I looked at everything before it published because my first really role with student media was as a copy editor. So I can't really talk about student media enough. I think it's a fantastic place. You don't have to have experience to start. Everybody starts with no experience, so you're all coming from the same place. The only way to get that experience is to go in head first. I was nervous to get involved in student media. I didn't actually get involved until my mentor, who was the person who encouraged me to switch majors, actually escorted me into the student newsroom and told them that I was going to be a volunteer copy editor. So I became a volunteer copy editor, and that's how I got my start. Just being around those people, like some people mentioned earlier, just being able to absorb their knowledge, hearing them talk on the phone and conduct interviews, just being in that environment is something that can help shape you. And also encourage people to just read good writing and emulate that. That was one thing I really focused on when I was a young reporter. Read the New York Times, I'd read the local newspaper, I'd read CNN, and I'd pretty much critique what they did. And when I was writing stories that local media were also covering, I look at when my story published versus theirs, so that I can work on my timing and know how soon should I be trying to turn around a story of a live event. I compare what did I focus on for my lead that they didn't focus on. How did I frame my story versus what they did? What did they do well that I didn't do well? What did I do well that I think they left out? I think those are questions you should be asking yourself constantly. Just continuing to do more and more will help you. You gain a lot of experience. Eventually it'll become second nature, but the hardest part is really just getting started.
Oh, wow. Well said. I really like what Nolan had to say about just critiquing your work. It's just so important to critique your work constantly so that you know where you stand in terms of how much you're outdoing the competition, to be honest. Right. Looks like Natalie is up.
Yes, hi everybody. First, I want to thank everyone for this really insightful conversation. I've been listening to it in the car and just nodding along. It's an excellent resource. So my question is, I am in an interesting situation. I graduated in 2016 with a major in English and journalism, or a degree in English and journalism, and then went straight into another field. And so when I wanted to start making this career transition to journalism and media, I really struggled because I didn't have relevant and current experience. And so I made the podcast, I wrote the articles, I pitched, I made content on YouTube, all for my portfolio. And then finally, I got the job this year. So this is my first journalism job out of school years later. And going through that struggle and aggressively networking and trying so hard to get all those no's and then finally get that yes, I'm now in this remote opportunity. And my question is, what can I do in a remote job? Because I'm working on a show right now. What can I do in a remote job to go the extra mile? Because I know struggle is a part of life, but I don't want to be in a position again where if the job ends tomorrow, I'm like, what am I going to do to really to get the next opportunity? My question, I think, is what's the best course of action without going, I guess, I think my question is, what can I do to go the extra mile without doing something that work and people would be like, whoa, what are you doing? It's difficult for me to phrase that question. Sorry, I'm focusing on driving as well.
No worries, Natalie. While you were driving, you missed the claps for you getting your first job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, congrats. But real quick for clarification, so what kind of entertainment job are you producing or?
Yeah, I'm in production right now, and so they're teaching me the way everything goes, but I want to go that extra mile and do the extra things so that if and when that job ends, people can turn around and say, Natalie was great, but I want to know what I can do on date, like when I finish this appointment I'm going to, I want to go home and I want to do some work, but I don't know what I can do to go the extra mile without doing something that's far removed from what they want.
Okay, so when you say remote, are you working virtually?
Yes, I'm working from home in the DC area. The job is in New York. Everyone else is in New York. Yeah.
And so you're hoping to move up in the company?
I'm hoping to move up in the company. I'm hoping to not be in a situation that I was in again, where I was like, I just want to do.
You
I'm
want
sorry.
You want to continue on working in this field, is what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that.
I have a question because you really didn't say what it is that you're doing. So I'm just going to put this out there as an example. If you're here in DC area and you're working for, let's just say, a production house in New York, obviously you've got to be on the writing side or the production side because you're not physically doing the cameras and all that. So I would suggest whatever it is production-wise that you're doing, look at that, look at the big picture. What don't they have? Because you're still connected on your side. And obviously whatever you're doing, they want you to be there. But step back and look at everything that they're doing, from the production to the writing to whatever it is that you can see from being here in DC, and figure out whatever that you see that they're lacking. Maybe they're lacking someone to read over scripts, or maybe they're lacking someone to look at video and pick out shots. Whatever you see that they're lacking, and it's something that you can fill that gap, go to the EP, the executive producer, the producer, whoever it is that makes those decisions, and share with him or her that, hey, you know what? I am enjoying this so much that I realized by watching it from the outside in, this is what I see. And if you ever have a need to want this, I will love to do X, Y, and Z. Just offer it up to them what it is that you want to do, because by being hands-on right now, and then you're showing your worth after the fact. And if you're doing a great job now, I'm sure that they'll continue to use you, because it's easier to keep somebody in-house that's already doing it than to look outside and have to retrain somebody else. So Natalie, I'm gonna wish you all the best on that. You got this.
Thank you so much. That's a really great idea. I really want to incorporate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And just to piggyback off that a little bit as well, I think I mean, the nature of this industry is precarious anyway. And I think we all have to, again, align the expectations. Like, there are plenty of people who do go long stretches without jobs because there are so many people wanting these jobs that aren't plentiful. So I wouldn't have that be a guiding fear, but I think you're already in a great position in that you have a job. And we all know it's easier to get a job when you already have a job. So right now, I would just continue to crush it like I know you are. And if you are running into roadblocks with your editor or whomever, and you're trying to do fantastic work and you don't feel like they're giving you shine, give people half of what you're already working on. Sometimes you're not always going to get that buy-in to your vision, and whatever is like, I know is about to punch it out. I'm doing you guys a favor. You just don't know it yet. Go ahead and start working on it, and then give it to them, because it's usually hard for them to say no to good content. And two, it really shows your initiative and your effort to do something that they didn't even realize they needed to do in the first place.
Thank you so much. That is great advice.
I'm just gonna quickly throw something out there. It depends. So it sounds like you also want to move up in the company. So if you have a position that you're eyeing, just gently shadow the position that you want to get into. So if you want to be a manager, whatever the position may be, just start asking questions about what it took to get there, and then at some point also do a quick check-in to see how you're doing and what you may need to improve on with your supervisor. All right. Anyone else with a question? Am I missing any hand raising? I think we're good. Okay, so it's 2:06. I think we had a really great session. I think we are on target. We wanted to spend a few minutes towards the tail end, just talking to all the participants who signed up about what they're hoping for in this program. And so, also we want to be mindful of the guest speakers' time. We really appreciate you guys. If you have any final thoughts, could you please share them?
My final thoughts for everyone is to know that your gift is your gift and no one can take it from you. And also know that the 4 years that you were in college or just 4 years of what you were interested at that particular time doesn't matter. Once you graduate, and 4 years after that, you decide you want to be something else. Don't let somebody say you wasted your money, you wasted your time. That's not the case. Your gift is your gift, and work in knowing that you can still achieve whatever it is that you want to do. That's the one thing that as interns that I found that a lot of them struggle with. I'm going to school to do this, but what if I don't want to do that? Okay, but what if? It's okay. Just know that walk with excellence in whatever career field that you want to do and crush it, like you say, crush it. And you're going to be successful. So just don't give up on you when everybody else looks at you and think, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? And more importantly, English and communication, we all know is like the key for any job opportunity out there. And I always tell people it's not a black or white language, it's English language. So don't look at me if I don't sound like you or I don't talk like you. As long as I'm speaking to you and you understand me, we're gonna all get along in this whole thing. All right. Thank you so much, Annalisa.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll be watching you.
I just wanted to say some of my last thoughts as well. I would say also, again, like everyone here has just been so great. And I feel like I'm learning a lot too from hearing you. And like Micheline said, I think definitely don't tie yourself down to what it is that you want in this present time, and be patient with yourself, because I think setting goals is really important and it helped me get to where I am. But at the same time, if 2020 has taught me anything, it's that you can't necessarily plan for the future. Like, you can do whatever you can, but sometimes things still change. And I think the biggest thing is just being able to adapt is like one of the biggest skills that anyone is looking for. Because I mean, in 10 years, there will be jobs that we can't even imagine or we can't even vision. Like there are people who manage company TikToks now. And that's not something that was there just like 5 years ago. So I think still continue to keep an open mind and just continue to be driven, but also be patient with yourself and adapt.
All right. And Nolan, Letitia, anything else you guys want to add?
I'll just piggyback off of everything. I know it is a very frustrating and confusing time when you're trying to get internships or when you're trying to get jobs. But, as I stated earlier, if we wanted to have a more traditional path, we could have all gone into banking or something where a job is guaranteed at the end of the internship or fellowship. But that's not that. And I think it is important to recognize how much this industry can test your perseverance and your fortitude as a person, and maybe even your purpose of why you want to be in it. But I do promise you that out of all the no's that you are going to receive, and trust me, I have received a lot, you just really need that one yes. You need that one person or those few people who are really going to believe in you and champion you and challenge you to be a better version of yourself. Like those things will come, and they will come with time, they will come with effort, and they will come with some luck as well. So keep hope alive and stay strong, as they say, because you are going to need those. You're going to need those mantras. I mean, I have those mantras myself, and I have a job, thank God, every day. And it is really hard. And I think it's extra hard in a pandemic where you can't walk up to someone's desk and say, hey, can we go meet at Starbucks so I can talk about a story? Like, there is a lot of, I think, more courage that you guys are probably going to have from the rest of us who have been in traditional newsroom settings, because you have to get over those fears in a different kind of way. Like, you do need to Slack someone, you do need to email someone who may be on your team or on a different team, and it is different than if you are in person. But again, just keep at it and just know that things, even when things are hard, doesn't mean it's going to be over.
I would just add, for those of you who are still in college, to take advantage of the resources you have. When I was a student in school, my major was broadcast journalism, but I eventually rose to become EIC of the student newspaper. I created a 15-minute documentary, did a 30-second PSA. I produced live newscasts on Fridays. I tried my hand at a bunch of different things. Even though I didn't ultimately go into broadcast, it was good to have that experience, just because when it came to having to make a decision about whether I wanted to be a print or digital reporter, if I wanted to be a news producer, I had both of those skills. I had experience in both of those. I knew what I was more comfortable with. I knew what I felt I was better at. And ultimately, because I was able to do so many things, I didn't really have to make a decision. A decision was made for me when I was offered a job to come to Politico for a fellowship. But I would have had a lot more hesitation had I not, did what I was able to do on the broadcast side. I would have questioned whether I wanted to be a print reporter, or whether I wanted to be on air, or whether I wanted to be a producer behind the scenes. So it's good to get as much experience as you can while you're in college. You're paying for it. I know when I was a student, we had access to Adobe products. I was able to learn Photoshop and then design my resume. Those things aren't free once you graduate. So, when I say take advantage of things like that, those are some of the things I'm talking about. And really lean on your professors. I know I wouldn't be here without some of the important professors I had in my life. Like I keep saying, I majored in graphic design. The fact that I was in one professor's class and she was willing to speak out and give me an award as a top writer in her class in that semester and talk to me one-on-one about the future she saw for me in journalism. That's the reason I'm here where I am today. She was also the one who wrote a letter of recommendation for me to, apply to Politico Journalism Institute. So without her, definitely wouldn't be here. I remember I walked into her office one day and left with a $1,000 scholarship because she had just got an email from like a national newspaper association looking to give a student $1,000 for a scholarship. I walked into her office, she saw the email, she wrote a letter for me, told me to write like a 500-word prompt or something. I ended up leaving with a scholarship. I had a great relationship with my dean. She was in charge of scholarship checks. So, just because I was a great student and we had a good relationship, but I was in leadership, I was able to graduate from my HBCU without having to take out any loans. I graduated debt-free. So just lean on those professors. See Micheline saying her too. Really lean on your professors. Try as many different things while you're in college. See what you like, see what you don't like, see what you're good at, see what you're great at. If you're interested in radio, get on the radio. Try to do a podcast, create your own website, find people who are like you. I had a great friend group in college, people who were willing to put in long hours in the student newspaper, people who were willing to go the extra mile for our newscast. And those people are at CBS News, got somebody at the New York Times, people all over the place doing great work. We still keep in touch. So it's important to have people like that you can ship your resume to, that you can send your website to, you can share a cover letter with and get their feedback and, check in on them and continue to grow together and elevate. So I just encourage you to, again, just take advantage of all the opportunities you have, because again, once you're a professional, you don't have as much access to those resources.
Thank you guys so much. Great tips. Really appreciate you spending an hour with us on a Saturday. That I know is very tough. So I really appreciate it. You guys can feel free to go on about your Saturdays, because for the last 15 minutes, we are—
Wait, my hand was raised. I just wanted to say something really quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm not a panelist or anything, but one thing that I would say is just take advantage of every opportunity you have. And the reason why I say this, because I'm not going to speak for her, but before Cordelia took the internship at the Wall Street Journal, we had a discussion about, she was like, well, should I take it now? Because I really want to get the not the feedback, but the benefit of being in the newsroom in person. And I was like, listen, we don't know what's going to happen now. All we know is that you have this offer on the table now. So take it now, because you would be better off with clips from the Wall Street Journal 6 months from now than you would without. She took the internship. She did well on it. I'm sure that led to the job that you have now. So whatever opportunities you have, take advantage of them when you have them.
Well said. I really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you guys so very much on this Saturday. For the last 15 minutes, we are going to take time with the participants and talk to them about future sessions and what they're looking for. So thank you, thank you. Take care. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, you guys. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. I'm proud of you, Cordelia. Good to see you.